a need for control, and an overall general discomfort with ambiguity and uncertainty is the driving force behind so many of our anxieties. There's a great poem by Rilke that talks about living the question, and this is a skill that we all need to be able to implement into our own lives to be able to exist in ambiguity with a sense of grace and equanimity. Frequently, control is a coping mechanism that people acquire in an attempt to self regulate their nervous system and their emotions because they are just deficient in the skills necessary. And it's just recognizing that when you are dependent on controlling external circumstance in order to feel relatively okay on the inside, then you're always at the mercy of others. So it's so fundamental that we acquire the skills to be able to regulate internally without having to control circumstances, without having to control other people. And this can be extremely difficult, particularly if this coping mechanism is something that you have used throughout your entire life. Now, even though relinquishing control and surrendering to whatever it is that's happening can feel very anxiety provoking, it's about being able to go beneath that anxiety, go beneath any of the feelings of guilt or shame that you're experiencing because of your circumstance, and being with what is actually going on. And usually underneath shame, underneath anxiety, underneath guilt, you will find fear, you will find sadness, you will find grief. And it's about being able to fully tolerate and fully process those emotions, because the more we work with those, the less of a need we feel to control all of the external stuff, and the more likely we are to feel a state of peace internally, even if life isn't in a place where we want to be. When we notice our control issues, such as when we're feeling frustrated with other people because they're not doing exactly what we expect them to do, or when we notice ourselves feeling very frustrated with ourselves, what can be a highly effective strategy to employ is that of grounding, bringing yourself back into the body, into the present moment. And this can be done just by sitting down, planting your feet firmly on the ground, noticing what the ground feels like beneath your feet, and then using your senses to notice what's in your environment. Practice some really deep belly breaths to bring yourself back into a state of calm, and then notice what's happening within the body. Notice any states of anxiety or tension, notice any muscle tightness, notice that if your jaw is clenched, and just release it. Again, bringing yourself back into the moment, recognizing that all you have is the here and now. Then, in a very non judgmental and conscientious manner, you can start to explore some of the core emotions that you might be experiencing, those that you are trying to avoid. You can recognize that your anxiety or your shame might actually be sadness or disappointment or pain of some sort, and then you can be with that emotion. You can nurture it and take care of it without allowing it to overwhelm you completely. I mean, we have the capability of experiencing every single emotion. It's just the story that we tell ourselves about how capable we are of experiencing emotions that is the issue, that drives this need for control, and that drives this need for escapism and avoidance. The less angry and judgmental we are with ourselves, the more likely we are to treat ourselves with compassion. And this doesn't mean that life doesn't hurt. I mean, of course it does. It doesn't eradicate the painful situation or circumstance that you're experiencing, but it does allow you to feel like as if you're taking care of yourself throughout it, as opposed to judging yourself, beating yourself up, or trying to avoid or deflect from the situation that you're in. Now, emotional awareness, being able to name your emotion, being able to recognize the sensations within your body, takes a bit of practice, and it can feel a little bit frustrating at first while you get a handle on it, particularly if you are used to exerting control over every aspect of your life. So be patient and tolerant with yourself, and again, recognize that this is a lifelong practice. It's not something to master, it's something to just implement in a very compassionate way day as frequently as possible. If you would like to develop better emotional awareness, if you would like to relinquish some of your need for control that may be driving a lot of anxiety in your life, get in touch with me on the website. It's fundamentals.ie.